All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Level of Detail. My name is Joe Raddick, and we are going to be playing some Fortnite Battle Royale. We're going to be talking about the level design of Battle Royale games, the new hot and rising trend in the gaming world. And we're going to be doing it through Fortnite Battle Royale because this is basically the game that we're all good at. And I find it very fun and interesting. And Battle Royale level design is different than open world level design, and we'll talk about why. And it's also extremely weird. So we'll just leave it at that.
I would like to make a single correction. He said we are good.
We're better at it than the other major Battle Royale games.
Alright, Joe. You know where to meet me.
Yes, I will. I will find you if we can do this in time. So joining me this week, once again, is Noah Rojahn, co-founder of Beer Games with me, my partner in crime, and other various things.
Person who gets pulled onto the stream whenever Joe wants a second person.
Yep. And also with us today is Matt Hoffman. Say hi, Matt.
Hello.
Matt Hoffman is another UE4 designer, programmer, game designer person, and I don't know, Matt. You've been doing stuff for VR. You've been doing marketing stuff. You've been doing a lot, but he has been playing.
Some shame here. No normal map.
Yes, if anyone from Epic is watching, please fix the normal map on that brick texture solely so that Noah can shut up about it.
Alright, level designer, where are we landing?
Let's drop over to Fatal Fields. So the thing that we want to start off with, so if you don't know what Battle Royale is, you are one of many people, because Matt and I and Noah a bit too spent a good chunk of this week trying to decide what the core principles of Battle Royale is. And we're not going to get into those that much, but you do need to kind of know what it is in the kind of a bit of a background so that you can understand what we're talking about. So for Fortnite Battle Royale, there is 100 people, as denoted by, well, I can't really click it here, but you'll see a little person icon underneath the mini-map in the upper right.
At least one other team.
Okay. 100 people all drop onto a map. They start with nothing. That usually has been from a some form of aerial vehicle. So some are planes, and you parachute in. In Fortnite, you drop off the party bus, the battle bus, and you umbrella or hang glider in. Is that your trap, Noah?
Yep.
Nope or yes?
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing.
I'm down.
Where are they? I see them.
2 people outside northeast.
Yeah, Doug, why don't you pop on in? You can come and play this. So I'm trying to explain everything here. I'm out of ammo. So you drop into you can drop into a world. Basically, it's usually a very similar map. You drop in with all 100 other people, and the goal is to survive as long as you possibly can. So that's what we're doing here. And I'm going to see if I can get these guys before they... I got them both.
Kill them.
Kill them, yeah. So while Joe is shooting things, teams can be composed of squads. Squads have teammates. If your teammate goes down, you can revive them. Squad members can be revived if they have enough health, but your health drains out over time and you take damage while down, and if you're out forever.
Yep.
Leaving your teammate to try and get you to the finish alone.
It's basically, if you've ever seen The Hunger Games, it's basically The Hunger Games in video game form. And so there's games like H1Z1 King of the Kill, PUBG is obviously the big one that everyone knows. Fortnite Battle Royale is also growing rather quickly. I think they reported 11 million people a few weeks ago were playing across all 3 consoles. I'm going to find somebody. I think I might have just got myself stranded in a way.
I wondered why you healed up.
That's what I was thinking. I think it was just kind of force of habit here. I'm also buying some time for if Doug wants to come in. So, yeah, so you might be thinking, why, it's level design. You're building, a big open world, and you want people to fight in it. And it's actually not that, to me at least, it's not that simple. It's not that basic. You can't just be it's going to be, you can't just put anybody on an island and fight. I'm trying
There's somebody in that shack. Go Rambo them.
Right in front of me?
Yeah.
So the level design is an interesting concept here because the circle closes over time, which forces players to move. So there is a sense of progression through the level, even though it's open world. But since the circle is random every time, the direction that players flow through an area changes every time, which makes it a very interesting and somewhat difficult level style to design for. You're supposed to use the grenades on yourself, Joe.
I forgot about those. Well, now they know I'm here. So, hi, hello. Hello, please kill me.
Dance.
Okay. So, hi, Doug. So as Matt was saying, that the main thing that everyone talks about is the circles closing in. We call that the ring, or in Fortnite it's called the storm. And that basically is this barrier that if you're outside of it, or if you're on the other side of it, so if you're not on the inside of that circle, you're going to be taking damage. And that damage, as it goes up, quiet phone, that will do damage to you. And the later in the game that you are in that circle, the more damage you'll take. So the first one might tickle for a little bit, but maybe the 3rd or 4th time that the circle's closed in on itself and becomes smaller and smaller, it does more damage. And as Matt is pointing out, those circles are generally kind of random. Sometimes they're weighted towards player population. Other times they're put away from player population. And that the circle itself has a very big impact on the level design and how players move through the world and things like that.
All right, let's do this.
So joining us now is Doug Cook? Northcook, sorry. Doug Northcook, do you want to introduce yourself really quick while I boost your mic on my end?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I teach game design, virtual reality design at Chatham University in Pittsburgh, and also do some game development as well on the side. So, professor in the house.
Yep. So, the thing that, Matt and Noah, I'm going to have you guys kind of lead, and I'll just go wherever you say to go, because I'm going to be looking at the map, and I want to talk about, I'm going to finally talk about the macro, meso, and micro gameplay. I'm really excited about being able to use those terms. So going back, we were talking about the level design of this is, there's a bit of open world design theory that you'll need to bring in, and it's, if you've played, say, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or you recently saw an article that came out from Nintendo that they did at the CES Tokyo, they did a kind of a design retrospective on the making of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and something that they talked about was providing choices to the player by creating these triangles. And I highly encourage you to go find that article if you're interested in that type of thing. But the main thing to come from that was the triangles provided players with choices. And so when you're designing a Battle Royale map, the main thing that you want to be focusing on is the choices that the players are going to be making. battle royale type games, especially Fortnite, PUBG, H1Z1 King of the Hill, the original Arma mod, those are all player driven. The gameplay is player driven. You're just dropped in, and there's no mechanic saying go here, go there, with the exception of the storm and the ring and the circle. So you can basically go anywhere on this big map right here. So I'm waiting for Matt or Noah to pick a place to go, or you want to go all the way out there?
Pick someone that's a little less populated this time, so when we land, we can actually talk.
Maybe there, just outside of Retail Row. Anyways, so the big main thing, I'm jumping now. The big main thing to consider when you're doing this type of design is that the players can be making a lot of choices. Now, those choices happen on 3 different levels, and this is what we talked about a bit this week. Was there is the macro level, which would be the entirety of this island. There's the meso level, which is in between macro and micro. Apparently that's the word. Never knew that. Now I do. And you do too. So there's the meso level, which would be the regional gameplay. And then there's the micro level, which would be on the ground in each of these individual areas. I'm going to hit this little house right here. There's a shotgun up there. So when you're looking at each of those levels, you have to consider that the players are going to be moving through them in a certain way. And this is where a little bit of player psychology then jumps in. When you come into these types of styles of games, the goal is to survive as long as possible. So naturally, the player is going to, I would say on average, most of the players are going to be playing this, and they're going to be trying to survive as long as they possibly can, which would mean the easiest way to do that, because players always try and take the easiest route through whatever thing that you give them, is to not do combat. They aren't going to fight each other. We are going to need to move a bit. Is there anyone in retail?
I am in retail.
Did anyone else land there, though?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Dave or Doug, why don't we head over here? So that's the first.
Pistol.
That's the first thing. Oh, no, we're not doing another pistol round. That's the first thing that you want to consider when you're designing this type of gameplay. Is players are going to try and avoid each other, and when you're doing this for this type of game, you don't want players to be avoiding each other. You want them to be fighting. You want to be putting people into those uncomfortable situations where they have to fight. And for some people, that's okay. Some people like that type of gameplay. We obviously do, because we play this a lot. Some people don't, and you know what? That's okay too. But the goal is to be driving conflict. Where are you? I hear you. Up there. The goal is to be driving conflict. And you want to be pushing players through how... There's somebody here.
On my way.
On me.
West, one person in the field. Get out of the house, Joe.
I can't. I was stuck.
Is the person in the house with you?
Second floor. He's going for the chest. He's above me. Yeah. It's not him. There's one more person on the top floor. So, as I was saying, you want to be driving conflict. You want to be pushing people together. And while my friends here go and either die or fight each other, that's a bummer.
Dead.
So the one thing that you're going to be doing is you drive conflict through, you're going to be driving conflict. And the first way to do that is through the macro gameplay level, which, like I said, was the entirety of the island. Now, how do we achieve that? Different ways of doing it. The main thing that you're going to be looking at, and you'll see when we land, is that there's a bunch of little named cities. So we landed right next to, what was it called, like Retail Row or something like that. There's Retail Row, there's Flush Factory, there's the Moist Mire, or the Moisty Mire, Loot Lake, all these different hotspots. And that is normally where you'll find the most drops of weapons, because you start with nothing. And for this game, you start with just a pickaxe. So when you're playing through, players are going to be more drawn to those heavy, dense areas. Those are basically the hot spots. Whenever we talk about going in hot, that means that we're going to be probably going to one of those areas that are named. It's going to have a lot of different weapons for us to choose from, but the trade-off is there's going to be a lot of people. So that's the first way that you drive conflict is through placement of these hotspots, of these dense areas of loot for players to go and have to explore, because it's necessary for them. You have to get weapons to do this. I very rarely have seen, though it is not impossible, I've very rarely seen people who have just gone through and played without picking up a single weapon and still win or do really well. There's ways to do it, but it's a bit of a challenge. If you've ever heard anyone talk about like doing a pacifist run, that's what they're basically doing, is they're avoiding all conflict. So if we look at the map here, we see there's, I should have counted this earlier, but there's like, what, 13, I think? 3 is 9 plus 12. So there's 12 major areas here. And I almost bugged it out. So there's 12 major areas here. And why don't we go I think we could probably make them higher if we drop over the depot. So each of these areas, you're probably going to find most people dropping to, or nearby. Epic has not released any form of data on that beyond how many people have touched down, which was somewhere in like the trillions or something like that. But if they ever released a heat map, which would show, say, the density of people who drop to specific areas along this map, you'll probably find that these 13 different areas, or 12 to 13 different areas, are all going to be very, very bright red, or whatever the hottest, or whatever the highest color is going to be. And since these are now hotspots, these effectively become very dangerous zones. So they're very, how do I put this? They're kind of like repulsors in a way. I was talking to Matt about this, and I used magnets as an example. Say everyone knows that if you have two magnets, if you put like poles together, so if you try and put north to north, south to south, they repel each other. If we assume that the players are, say, a positive charge, so they would be the north of that magnet, then they aren't going to go... Oh, hello.
You find some friends to play with.
Yeah, I keep finding friends. I can't hear them because I'm talking. Oh well, they didn't get my shield potion.
You talk, we'll
I'll talk. I'll spectate on you guys. So players are going to be repulsed away from those heavy hotspots because, say, we'll assume those are also a positive charge. So if you have two positive charges, they don't want to touch each other. So in this case, oh wait, I can't bring up the map when I'm here. No. So we can't. Oh, that's fine. So players are going to be moving around, and they're going to be plotting their best course routes to avoid those major hotspots. And this is all macro gameplay. This is like big, high-level, bird's-eye view gameplay. And I'm holding my hand up even though it's out of camera. It's like way up here is where...
the building.
Yeah, watch out, Doug. So you're going to be you're going to be looking at this big upper area. So if you have too many hotspots together, it's going to be really difficult players are going to find it hard to really be there and get in and get out and stuff like that because there's so much stuff going on. Now, you need to make sure that density is at just a point, though, that it isn't so... There's a trap behind you to pick up. It isn't so dense that like a third of the map, or a third of all players are dead in the first 2 minutes. But you also want to make it far enough away that it's not so close that everyone's dead in the first 2 minutes, but not so far enough away that everyone's still alive. There's a point at which you want to be able to design the map, and this gameplay mechanics will also play into this too. But you also want to design the map in such a way that it means that players are going to be engaging with each other on the macroscopic level. Excuse me.
Matt, we gotta go.
So
No,
I'm
there's two
going to
people
not talk with
shooting.
push to talk on, and I'll just keep talking so you guys don't have to hear me and you guys can communicate. So the one thing that we'll look at once, so I can get my map back up, because since I'm dead I can't do that. The one thing that we'll be looking at next will
So there's an
be
interesting level design thing in this area. In the mire, good loot usually, but it's very hard to maneuver in because of the mire.
yeah. I was actually about to lead into the meso level, which would have been talking about that. And as Matt was pointing out, meso. So meso, if you don't know what that term is, I didn't know it until like a week ago. Is the term between micro and macro. So macro is big, micro is little, meso is like the middle part, everywhere in between. So we have the macro level. We have physical obstacles, which would be, say, big mountains that are hard to climb or take time. I should say, like, all the mountains here you can climb to some degree if you have the right tools or right resources to build. But if you don't, you have to go around them. And so those are kind of like a physical block. If you are, say, building like towns, those would be on the macroscopic level. I keep screwing that up. On the macroscopic level, towns are kind of like fuzzy blockers. They're not really physically they're not physically preventing players from moving through, but they're putting out like this repulsive force saying, maybe we shouldn't go there.